And without further ado, today's session, it's again, I think something that applies to every single business, especially in the early stages of how important it is. And we have Rafael joining us from HubSpot. He leads the HubSpot for Startups and Entrepreneurs program in Americas to extend the reach of inbound strategies in the region and helps the startup ecosystem to grow better. He's launched ventures for private investors and funds and did an MBA from Babson College. Thank you so much for joining us, Rafael, and I will pass it over to you.
Thank you so much and welcome everyone. I'm super happy to be here. Let me just start by sharing my screen. I also will be reading the chat. If you have had access to it, feel free to start asking questions there. If you have any comments, if you can share your experiences, um, more than welcome to use the chat. And we will have also some time for Q&A at the end of the session. So let's start by sharing. Um, I've already been introduced, but I just want to say I'm very happy to be here. I have founded a couple of companies. I work in private equity, and now I've been at Hubs for Startups for 6 years now, working in the Latin American, New England, and Canadian ecosystem, which is the reason why I'm having the honor to share with you all. Um, so first, remember that HubSpot has a program that is called HubSpot for Startups, where we're going to be offering resources for founders to learn how to market better, to do sales better, to do service better, to do fundraising. So make sure to sign up to the program. York can share a link with you in which you can sign up and you'll be getting some awesome content that you will be receiving via email. And of course, it's going to help also with these sessions. You're also going to be able to purchase HubSpot at incredible pricing. We have special pricing for HubSpot. So if you ever decide that you want to build your go-to-market strategy with us, make sure to apply to the program as well. So let's begin with a question in the chat. So, what would be the top three challenges that you are facing right now with sales and growth? And yes, Rosicler, I speak Spanish. Es mi primer idioma. New consumer reach. Okay, reaching to those customers, right? Knowing who is your customer and your potential client. Yeah. The closing, yeah, that's a tough one. There's not consistency maybe in the sales process. Okay, thank you, Prasad, for sharing. Anything else? Great. So we're going to move forward. Oh, we have one from Liza, which is the target audience wants cheap and free products and identifies the lowest hanging fruits as the customers and then selling, of course. So hopefully today we're going to help you with those challenges in increasing your sales process. So what are we going to say today? Today we're going to talk a little bit about how we have seen changes in buying experience. Then we're going to speak about the new playbook inbound and how it can help you reach out the right audiences as well as close sales. Then we're going to go to what the buyer journey is. We're going to talk a bit about lead generation strategies to help you reach and find those customers. Then we're going to talk about the sales processes. It's a very general sales process. And then all along the presentation, we're always going to be showing you how AI is going to help you follow these processes more efficiently. So first, how has the buying experience changed recently? The old way used to be a lot on, relationships. You would go to a conference, you would make a bunch of calls, you would meet the person maybe in person when you finally decide to get the purchase. And when they purchase, then you are going to make sure that they're a happy customer. But this has changed a lot. Why? Because a lot of these processes can be done via integrating your marketing strategies, and your sales strategy. Today, buyers are in control. Why? Before, when you were a buyer, the salesperson would have all the information about the products and even the industry and the competitors in their hands. So they had all the power. Today, we have a ton of information. So consumers are doing a lot of research before making a purchase decision, before even reaching out to you if they know about you. The thing is that this is creating heightened expectations around the experience of buying. And it's very hard today to reach out to these customers because I bet you can relate to this. Have you seen like a banner when you're reading an article online or what happens with a YouTube advertisement? You completely ignore it, right? You practically block your sense and you do not absorb that information. So selling has never been harder. That's why they need what we need, a new playbook. And at HubSpot, we developed something that is called the inbound methodology. Your customers are doing a lot of research before purchasing, right? So we are going to leverage this research to create value via content, and they're going to be attracted to your digital ecosystem because they're searching online. If you provide them with value, that is going to serve as a magnet to bringing them to your content and your website. This is also going to help you start forming connections with these customers and understanding their challenges before even having the first meeting or call with them. So this process is going to look a little bit like this, right? First, you want to attract these customers, these potential customers. You want to bring them to your digital ecosystem. Your digital ecosystem is going to be your website, is going to be your blog, your Facebook, your Instagram, whatever social media you have. All this is your digital ecosystem. So the goal here is to bring folks to that digital ecosystem. And again, the key to doing that is by providing content of value to them. Maybe a social media ad that adds value, a blog article. You can do events. You can strive to be positioned well in Google SEO and now the GPT models. You can provide content for them to download, and when they download it, they're going to probably share their emails with you. And that's when you can start doing some email nurturing. Once you've done the nurturing, you want them to go to a sales call or a Zoom call, if you want to call it like that. You can also collaborate with the salesperson by providing webinars. Has anyone heard about webinars? Do some email sequences, then run more sales calls until they purchase, right? Always try to keep these folks in the ecosystem by continuously providing them value via newsletters, maybe, for example, and delighting them via support. And always remember this. Today, it is not what you sell. The product is a part of your go-to-market strategy. You don't build a go-to-market strategy to go with your product. Your product is just one of the key components of that go-to-market strategy because it's meant to provide value to your customers, right? Not the other way around. It's not that your customers are going to provide value to your product. So first, before driving any further, we need to understand something that's fundamental. And it is that your ICPs or buyer personas, whatever you name them, they have a process that they run through before making a purchase decision. And this is what we call the customer journey. First, let's imagine that, I don't know, your knee hurts, right? You have a symptom. And what is the first step that you follow? You're going to go to Google, to anything that you find. The Mayo Clinic is, for example, fantastic in having content for that. And you're going to seek for potential causes for that symptom. You want to name the problem. That is the first step in your purchase decision. Then, once you've realized that maybe your knee hurts because I don't know, you have some sort of information, you're going to start researching for strategies to solve that problem. This could be maybe an ice pack. This could be some medicine, OTC medicine. This could also be maybe that you need surgery, right? You start to develop the strategy. In this process, you might start reaching out to some providers or your doctors. Once you have decided your strategy, you're going to start researching who is going to be able to provide you with the solution. So let's say that your strategy is going to be knee surgery. What's your next step? You're going to try to find the best knee surgeon available, the one that is with whom you're going to be successful. And that is what we call the decision stage. We know the solution strategy, the method, or the approach. Now we're looking for a vendor. And most often than not, what we see is that a lot of companies, not only founders, are going to be focusing on creating a lot of content around the decision stage. And every interaction that they have with their prospective customers is going to focus a lot as if they were on this stage, right? Hey, my product is very cool. My product is cheap. My product does this and that. But when you do this and you forget that there's a bunch of people out there who don't even know what the problem is, or people who discovered what the problem was, but still doesn't know what the strategies are, and you bombard them with decision stage materials that talk about your product, they're not going to connect with that, right? So you need to be aware of this process so you can build the right content and provide value at each and every stage of the buyer process, right? Now, I'm going to show you a bit how you can power AI to increase the sales productivity. And proceder. Another problem is not generating content at the consideration stage. Yes, exactly. You need content for each stage of the customer journey. And this is going to help a lot with the major pains that you're facing because if you start to build a pipeline of customers who are on the different stages, you're going to be able to nurture them and help them move forward in their purchasing process. And this is going to help to reach the right audiences, which is how in the chat is one of the main challenges. You're going to welcome or start talking with highly educated prospects if you educated them well, right? So they already have the key questions that they want to ask you. Also, it's going to help to qualify your leads because if you know what problems your audiences are facing and they start consuming the content that helps them solve those problems or identifying or defining the strategies, then you know that these folks are highly likely to be your customer persona, right? So that's a really good comment. Thank you so much. So why AI? Startups have to do more with less, right? And people are using this. 74% of sales professionals are using AI and automation. You have to jump on the wagon. If not, you're going to be left behind. So what are they using it for? A lot of it is automating manual tasks. Others want to gain data-driven insights, and other ones are writing prospect outreach messages, right? Maybe you have used already a lot of the GPTs to write an email. I had a colleague who used to write keep stories to his children via GPT. So you know how fantastic these tools are for doing it. Folks are also saving a lot of money. Marketers can save up to 3 or more hours per piece of content. Imagine writing a blog used to take a couple of hours, right? Today is just a prompt, and a prompt takes like 5 minutes at most to write. Sales professionals are saving hours as well by writing the emails and automating the processes. Same for reps. So it's very important to understand how these tools can help you. Of course, you need to be wary because there's plenty of privacy risks on the generative models. There's data preference compliance risks, and there's a lot of risks of not curating the content. So always be mindful of this, and any conversation that you're having with a GPT, always have it as if it were a public Facebook post because this information is going to be used. In any case, before jumping into the different tools, I just wanted to review that there are 6 key steps to a sales process. So what's the sales process for you? First, we're going to do prospecting. This is sourcing new early stage leads. This is going and identifying who do you want to reach out to before even doing anything else. Then, once you know who do you want to reach out to, well, you need to reach out. So you need to connect this to these folks and qualify them, understand if they are one of your ideal customers. And this is very important because if you spend any resources selling to the wrong person, you're basically wasting your time and your money. So qualifying your leads is fundamental to save time and money when selling and to closing more sales, of course. Then, once you're connecting and qualifying, you also need to dig deeper. You need to do some research, right? This is going to increase the likelihood of closing a deal. You need to understand very well what the pains and goals of these folks are. Also, once you understand the pains and goals, you're going to be presenting. This is very, very time consuming. This can take the form of a demo or a PowerPoint presentation or maybe just a pitch, but it is a fundamental step in closing the sales. And I'm going to give you a strategy. I know that somebody mentioned that closing sales was very, very hard, and I agree, but I'm going to give you a strategy that is going to help you very much in perfecting that pitch and increasing how you close sales. When you're pitching and you're selling, you're going to have objections. So here, listening skills are fundamental. You need to understand very well what are the objections of this customer and try to readjust your pitch based on this objection. And finally, we're heading to a close now, right? We're closing. This is also a very important step. You were mentioning it. And it should define the different conditions of the deal and the pricing, of course. Finally, one of the steps that I didn't include was the referrals. And this is another key component of your go-to-market strategy. Remember that your customers are one of the most powerful marketing channels. You've always received a recommendation from someone. Hey, purchase this. This is fantastic. They did amazing. They made a mistake and this happened and they took care of me. You've also heard retractors, right? People who are not going to recommend the company, like, oh, I purchased this and it went horrible. I tried to reach out to their customer success team and this happened. So it's very important that you take delighting your customers, you consider it a part of your sales process as well. So let's start. First, how do you prospect and research before running a pitch? In this example, I use Quad just to give me a list of relevant customers. Let's say that I'm a company that targets financial institutions, right? And they must be, small to medium businesses, so less than 500 employees, and I'm based in Boston. So I asked this is Quad to provide me a list of different Boston companies with less than 500 employees. And of course, I can select the format, and I can even tell Claude or the GPTs to provide me maybe a format that I can easily copy and paste in Excel or export to a CSV file. So I can input this into ERPs, CRMs, whatever you want to have, right? This is the example of the output of that prompt. It started by giving me a long list of these companies that I can start targeting. Now, let's say that forward financing, I didn't know about forward financing, but I now see that they might be one of my potential customers. So what am I going to do? I'm going to start researching it. And again, you can do this with Gemini, OpenAI, whatever you want. And it's going to give you a very interesting and deep approach on how this company operates. And this way, you can start leveraging those insights to prepare for your pitch, to prepare maybe as well to produce content for these buyer personas, right? This is going to give you a lot of ammunition, I call it, to start doing and continue doing your sales process. Now, you have a list of prospects. You can maybe go to LinkedIn, start, making a list of the folks that you want to reach out to, and now you need to reach out to them. So how do you do that? Who in the chat knows what's the average number of emails that a salesperson needs to write before somebody replies to them? What do you think an average is? Tracy, you read the article. 7, 7, 10, 7. Okay, everyone read the article. Fantastic. It's 6 or 7. So, can you imagine once you've built that list, how long it would take to write one email or 7 emails to each of these folks and what the process looks like? You would have to go through your list on a Google Drive or something like that. And then you would have to write 6 emails because, you know, you got to be prepared. And then you're going to have to set up reminders to write follow up emails to only the people who didn't reply to you. You can solve this by automate, right? You can solve this by using tools. In this example, we're showing you a specific tool that is called sequences, in which you can just put those emails in a sequence and set them up for the follow-up. So you set this up and you forget completely about writing more emails. It's going to send the emails. And if they reply to you, then you're going to stop sending them emails, right? So this is a tool that automates that outreach in a great way. Just put the contacts on a list, send the sequence, forget completely about doing follow-ups. The second part of it is that you can start create any type of content to help your sales process. In this example, we crafted a LinkedIn article. You know, this is going to help you position yourself. And when you create LinkedIn content, you're also going to be, and you start to build on your brand, it's going to increase the chances for people to reply to you. But writing, you know, not all of us are influencers. In this case, we used a GPT to create posts for us, right? And you can see how simple it is. It also, you can also set the objectives to book a meeting, and it's going to start writing content for you so you can publish. Once you have all this, you know that you're going to be setting up sequences. And there are best practices when writing emails. The format is fundamental. And here I'm showing you a format that has been proven to be most effective in getting replies from your prospects. If you look at the subject, you have a very personalized title, your approach to, and you have a placeholder that says challenge. Why is there a placeholder there? Because now that you know, in general, the challenges that they're facing, or maybe you saw a post on LinkedIn, you can mention that in the title. And when you build this personalization, you are going to increase the chances of opening the email and replying to the email. Why is this an F format? Because it's shaped like an F, right? You need to create long content first, then a little shorter content, or two pieces of equally long content, and then a small piece of a call to action, right? And what are we looking at here? We're looking again at personalization. Hey, first name. You can mention something that you read about the person, maybe on LinkedIn, you're doing research. So let's say the person mention a challenge in the sales department and you want to sell them a sales tool. You want to mention that challenge. And of course, before pitching anything, one of the most effective ways to sell is to ask questions, not to say things. Questions are the most important part of the sales process. So you're basically telling this person, I would love to hear your unique perspective. You're validating this person. And people love to share their perspective. People love to speak and be experts. So this is going to help and increase the chances of a reply. Then you can do a little pitch about, what you do. We help sales execs improve their rep success with tools that use a similar approach. Do you have 5 minutes? This is very important to speak Wednesday or Thursday afternoon this week. Why is the 5 minutes so important? Because people are afraid that the call is going to take too long. So that's a big reason for people not setting up meetings. When you build the expectation of how long that meeting is going to take, it's going to increase the chances for them to set up a meeting. So always mention how much time you need from that person when you have a call to action to speak with this person. Also, be very specific. Remember that you're designing this email to make life easier to this prospect. And how do you design that email? You're going to make his life easy. So you're going to suggest some times, not only ask for times like, hey, what time do you have? No, you're going to suggest them because your goal is to get that meeting. And at HubSpot, we must have a CTA or call to action in everything we do. If we create a blog post, it's going to have a call to action to subscribe to the newsletter. If we have content, it's going to have a call to action to fill a form. If we have an email sequence, it's going to have call to actions either to download content or to set up a meeting with us, right? So everything that you create in the sales and marketing world must have a CTA, and that CTA is the most important thing that you have. So you need to design it to make it easy, right? Of course, LLMs can help you create emails, right? This is an example that we have at HubSpot where you can just choose the introduction email, explain what you're selling, who are you selling to, and then what you want to communicate, plus the tone. Every GPT, you can give these instructions to the GPTs, and they're going to use that to craft an amazing email for you. You can also provide them with examples, and you can also tell them like use an F format or an X format or a Z format, whichever format you want. If you instruct the GPT, they're going to use it. Now, research and discovery. You found the right audiences. You were able to connect to them via these cold emails, LinkedIn inbox, whatever. What's the next step? What would 90% of people do? They would start selling, right? My product is so cool. My product is fantastic. My product is cheap. My product is better than the other one. This is not the right time to do it. Why? Because you don't know anything about this person. And this is fundamental for closing a sale. Before closing a sale, you need to understand how your product solves a pain or helps your prospect achieve a goal, right? And this is why the first call that you have with a customer, you're going to be asking questions. You need to build the inventory, have ammunition before building the sales pitch to them. Because if I told Alina, Alina, my product is going to help you be better positioned in Google search. That might not be Alina's objective. She might not even care about that. So if I start pitching before understanding Alina's goals and challenges, I might miss my shot. So I need a lot of information before pitching. And this is where we use this framework, which is called GPCP, goals, plans, challenges, and timeline. And every initial call with a customer, with a potential customer, should be organized like that. Goals. You need to understand what are your prospects' goals, right? Alina might not be looking to position herself in Google, but she might be having a lot of pain with customer conversion. You also need to understand the plans because that's very important in understanding how they want to solve these problems. So you need to see what they're planning to do to achieve those goals. Another thing that you must seek for are pains. What's the pain that this person is experiencing when trying to reach those goals by using those plans, right? So if we're talking about a goal to increase the number of leads that come into your CRM and you plan to do it via ads, then you're going to start talking about the challenges. Okay, why is that hard? And folks might tell you like, well, I don't have a lot of budget for ads. Well, I'm bringing a lot of traffic to my website, but I'm not converting, right? Once you start understanding those challenges, you start to see how you're going to design your pitch, design your demo to solve for these challenges and help this person achieve those goals. And always also is very important to understand the urgency. When do you need to meet that goal? Alina, when do you need to bring 1,000 leads to your pipeline? If it's this year, then you know there's a lot of time. So you know that the lead might not be with a lot of urgency. But if it's soon, then you need to build on that urgency to close the sale. These are some examples of questions that we can ask. So for the goals, ask for the top priority. What do you want to achieve this year? And if I gave you, a magic wand, what would be the one thing or the first thing that you would solve for yourself? Do you have KPIs? If you understand the KPIs of your prospect, of that person, is going to help you a lot to understand what their goals and challenges are. Our buyer personas, for example, might tell us, my KPI is lead generation, how many leads I bring every month. Thank you. Now I understand very well what you want to achieve, and I'm going to use that KPI to position my product as a solution and as a way that is going to help you achieve those goals. You can also talk about revenue, maybe try to anticipate what the goals are going to be, but of course, try not to ask too many yes no questions because they're going to close the conversation. Plans, these are some questions that you can use to understand the plans of this person. How are you planning to do this? How have you done it in the past? Do you have the right resources? Start digging a little bit. Challenges. This is very, very important. What are you having? What is keeping you awake at night, right? Um, do you think you have the internal expertise? Do you think you'll be able to eliminate this challenge right now? Always be asking to discover pain. Timeline also, when will you begin implementing this plan? Do you have the bandwidth and resources? Would you like help thinking through the steps involved in executing this plan, et cetera, et cetera? Always be a consultant as well, you can see here. Again, try to ask open-ended questions. Yes, no questions are going to close the conversation. Hey, Serena, Do you need to, do you have a qualified lead goal for this year? No, that's it. The conversation is over. But if I tell Sharda, why do you think that is? Sharda is going to give me a full explanation that is going to be rich with a lot of challenges and pain. So I can start understanding uh, the problems and the goals of this person. If you don't have prospects and if you want to anticipate, use the GPTs, use the LLMs. You can ask for a buyer persona to be built for your website and then ask it for run these questions through GPTs, and it's going to give you a lot of insight in your customers, right? Now, you have all the information that you need. You know the pain that this person is experiencing. You know, for example, that they need to bring leads to their pipeline, but you know they're also having a lot of difficulties with conversion. Um, so when you present or when you do a demo, you're going to take your notes that you brought with the challenges and pain, and you are going to focus your product or your demo on how your product is going to solve these pains and challenges and help this person achieve their goals, right? I know that this person wants to bring leads to the CRM. I know they have traffic in their website. So I'm going to start showing them how whatever software I'm showing is going to help them increase conversion, maybe via forms, maybe by having CTAs, maybe by allowing them to do A/B testing, right? Use this format and this format in half the traffic and half the traffic. See which one works better. This is going to increase your conversion, right? So once you understand, once you've done the goals, challenges, planning, and timeline, GPCT, you're going to be able to build that demo and build that pitch that is going to resonate with this person and it's going to help you close the deal. Now, very important, when you're presenting, you also need to understand if you're being successful. This is an example of a tool. You can use Google Sites. This is HubSpot in my example, of course, to understand who is viewing your documents, who is viewing your presentations, how long they're spending on each of the pages. We also recommend this, for example, for startups who are looking for investment. If they build their pitch and they put it in this tool, they're going to see where the founders, or sorry, where the investors spend the most time and when they stop seeing the presentation. So you're going to see if maybe slide 3 is killing your startup, and then you can make the adjustments to present to investors, right? So always track in any way that you can, track the behavior of these buyer personas. There's also a tool for building presentations, which is Plus AI. If you want to take notes, it's going to help you with building these presentations as well, so you don't have to spend as much time doing that. Now you presented, you did the pitch, you talked to the different challenges and goals that this person has. Well, you might get some objections, right? And you always want to anticipate what they're going to ask. So you can also start using LLMs for that. What are common objections for the VPs of finance in mid to small companies that want to purchase this or X product, right? And it's going to give you a lot of insight on what this potential customer is going to ask you and is going to object on, so you can build replies to those objections. This is the GPT example. What are common objections with purchasing HubSpot products for sales, and explain how to overcome those specific objections and encourage someone to buy. So this is the prompt that we use, and we're seeing that the main concerns that people have when purchasing HubSpot: costs, right? Counterpoint, we're going to be focusing on value, right? It gives you ideas on how to handle these objections. The complexity, right? This is an objection that we get very often. So we're going to be highlighting the user-friendly interface and the integration. So we're going to start building ammo as well to reply to those common objections that these folks have. We can also learn how to challenge the resistance. So always ask questions. Remember, the good the good salesperson is not the person who is ultra charismatic or ultra convincing. No, the best salespeople are people who ask the right question. And this is a great question to ask. Is this resonating with you? And if the person say, no, that is not really an issue in my business, okay, um, you can pivot to show value, right? Oh, okay. So I assume that you're pretty happy with your website and it keeps your sales team well fed with a consistent stream of leads. And the person says, you know what? Okay, it doesn't. I do need leads. And see why it's very important to understand the challenges and the pains that these folks are experiencing, because it's going to give you a lot of ammunition to handle these objections. This is another example. You did your GPCT and you build what we call the positioning statement, which is how my product is going to help you solve your pains and help you achieve those goals. Maybe you missed the shot, right? So the person is going to say, hey, no, this is not really relevant. Oh, okay. No worries. And we pivot and we build a different position statement. Maybe I understood that their problem was conversion, but their true problem might have been that they weren't getting enough qualified leads, right? So I start talking, as opposed to conversion, I start talking about how my tool can help you qualify your leads, right? Or anything else. There's also another tactic that you can use when having sales call if you're getting objections. You're gonna go, okay, no problem. That's okay, Barbara. It doesn't sound like there's much to talk about here. But hey, before you go, and this is something that we did a lot in HubSpot, we used to go to the websites of our prospects and see if they have call to actions on their content. And if they didn't, we would say, okay, you know what? I just saw that something might be hurting your lead conversion. You can fix it today. Would you like me to share that quickly? The person is going to say, but of course, yes, sure. What's hurting my conversion, right? They might be thinking about. Add a call to action to the bottom of your blog articles so the prospects you're bringing convert in your blog post. Does that make sense? Are you using your blog to try and generate more qualified traffic and leads? And then the person might engage and say, oh, yes, the blog this and the blog that. And you kind of do like a new GPCT and start to build that positioning statement again. So these are some strategies that you can use during the sales call. And remember, if you look at this, they all need a lot of empathy. They all need a lot of understanding your customer, which is the reason why it's fundamental to ask the right question and use the GPTs to research your product. So, what prompts and tools are you using for AI and sales? Can you share in the chat? What's your favorite prompt when for sales?
Is anyone using uh, AI prompts for their sales?
Okay, we have a ChatGPT user. Thank you, Lenore. Perplexity. Yes. ChatGPT. I think it's the most popular tool. At HubSpot, we're using Claude, which is amazing. And we also have Gemini for research. It's unbelievable. Instantly.ai. Oh, I haven't heard about it, Amir. For automation and customization of outreach with open AI models. Sounds like a competitor, so I'm not going to recommend it. Go high level. ChatGPT, Copilot, and Perplexity. Excellent, excellent. Liza, you're using everything. What's your favorite? So now you did all this and you need closing. And most of the things, remember, you need to measure everything, make adjustments. So there are many tools, Firefly, Gong, that are going to give you feedback on your conversation. If you record the calls, for example, we used to use Gong, it would give you advice like, hey, you know what? You didn't ask enough questions. Hey, you know what? You spoke 70% of the time. You should let the other person speak too. You interrupted your customer, right? It gives you a lot of insight in how to improve those sales calls. And this is going to help you increase conversion. It can also create summaries with next steps, commitment, anything that you want. So I will always recommend you to use any of these tools for conversational intelligence when you're running sales calls. It's amazing. I use it for my calls and basically the summary. We use the Zoom and we have also one in HubSpot. It's just gonna give me a list of the next steps that we agreed upon on the call. So always use conversational intelligence. Also, it's very important to understand how much money you're gonna receive, how you're forecasting. This is fundamental. This is a question that your potential investors, are going to ask you. What's your pipeline like? What, right? Because you need to understand how far your runway is going to go as a founder, how much funding you need, how many more months you have before you need to put more money into your company. So you can use forecast as well to understand how much money, how many of these deals are going to come into your pipeline and close. So, closing up, key takeaways. Always follow the 6 key steps of the sales process. I would also add that you should really understand what are the stages of your sales process and map that sales process, and of course, manage it as a pipeline and use a tool. There's a lot of efficiency to be found by using AI tools. Like, I think that every hour that you spend learning the GPTs, the conversational intelligence tools that are out there, the automations that are available, is like, I think it was Lincoln who said that if he was given 4 hours to chop a tree, he would spend 3 hours sharpening his axe and 1 hour chopping down the tree. So learning AI, learning tools is like sharpening the axe, and it's going to help you scale better. Automate is the same. 1 hour automating is going to save you hours and hours of work. So if you find yourself doing something that is very repetitive, very boring, there's probably something out there that is going to help you automate. And finally, get results, but also check those results. What's working for you? It's very important to have reports. What kind of deals are closing? What kind of personas are purchasing or not purchasing? At which stage of your sales process are those deals closing win or closing loss? Right? You need to understand all this because you always want to be redesigning your marketing, sales, and service processes so you make them the best for your founders. And yeah, this is it. We have some time left for Q&A. Thank you so much again for being here. And please, if you have questions, feel free to open your mic. You can raise your hand if you want. If you don't, you can use the chat. But feel free to ask any questions that you might have.
Thanks so much, Rafael, for the workshop. I particularly like this because I feel like we have tangible, actionable items coming out of these workshops. So thank you so much for doing this for our founders. So let's open it up to questions. Feel free because we've got quite a bit of time, so feel free to raise your hand and then I'll call you and then you can ask your questions. But honestly, this is your chance, guys. Like sales is difficult, so let's ask and get the most of the session.
May I please go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for
Please.
it.
And this is at the risk of looking very foolish because I have to honestly tell you, as I was listening, I was also cooking dinner, so it's possible that I may not have gathered every point that you said. However, just as a full transparency, I believe in AI. However, I'm the kind of person that right now I realize I'm using it to like 1% of its potential. So when at the sort of earlier in the session, you talked about what would people use AI for in this field, and you gave, I think, 3 or 4 main areas that they would use it for. I am the kind of person that I would not disagree with you, but I don't understand. It was too abstract. So what I need at my level of AI knowledge would be like another session of each of those points and giving me a concrete example, step by step, extremely concrete, extremely applied, extremely with the words and that kind of a thing that I can try and figure out how to apply it to mine, because I am open to AI, but I am very, very not knowledgeable. So, that's the level that I'm at, and I want to be better. And a little bit, I don't have some of the vocabulary to know what it means when you say some of the things that you say. So,
Oh, feel free to ask. Sorry, we have a lot of we have like a lingo, and sometimes we assume is, but yeah, no, definitely. And thank you so much, Miss. I don't think that even Sam Altman feels that he's using AI and its whole potential, or that he's knowledgeable in AI. I don't think that nobody is an expert. And my take is, of course, be very patient. Um, I mean, I try to read a lot about it. I follow people who are experts. I ask my colleagues how they're using it. Um, it is definitely something that we need to learn a lot about, a lot about, and that's why I wanted to show you some examples um, and use cases, because we don't even know what's out there, right? We don't know if there's a tool out there that is going to help you do the solution. But I mean, a lot of what I'm seeing is, yes, AI for research, as I show you, um, researching companies, researching buyer persona. Like, I mean, are I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you how this works, because I do this a little bit. Just one second. Uh, Sometimes you're also using AI and you don't even know that you're using it, right? For example, there's some functionalities, like there are so many functionalities, but you can use it to build a buyer persona. Are you seeing my screen? So this is prompt. Prompting has become the new thing. Like, you don't need to be a writer, you don't need to be anything, but again, asking the right questions. Now you need to ask them is to GPT to get the right answers. So anything that you ask, build a buyer persona, boom, it gives you a buyer persona for your company, right? It gives you the pain, it gives you the challenges, the decision making process, anything that you need. So use this to research your customers, to understand their pains, to, you know, ask it any question. This is the GPTs for research, for prospecting. They are better at writing sales emails than you are. So that's another one, to create the content. You can create landing pages, LinkedIn posts, anything that is content creation. Go ahead and start practicing with the GPTs, because they're fantastic. Um, Image creation, those are a little behind than the language models, but I think it's great to use, to find the strategies, to learn about stuff. There are so many functionalities, and a lot of them are just incorporated into the day-to-day life, right? Like the Zoom meetings, for example, summaries. You can use the AI companion for that, for the meeting summaries. So, I would say everyone is feeling overwhelmed and a little lost with AI. If somebody is not feeling like that, please uh, raise their hand and give us the secret. So like don't worry for that. We're getting there, but I would say educate yourself a lot. Like read and use cases, talk to people. This is the best way to stay up to date.
Couple of questions in the chat for you.
Yeah. So let's start with, can you please suggest an approach to reaching larger sectors like education, government? What might we start? So of course it's very challenging. These sectors, I would tell you that it really depends on how you want to reach out to them. At HubSpot, for example, we are building a lot of content. So the first step is understand in large sectors who is your buyer persona. That is fundamental. And MA, do you have a buyer persona? Do you know who your customer is? Who in that organization is making the purchase decision? Because you can target a huge corporation. Let's say you're targeting Microsoft, right? And you say, my buyer persona is Microsoft. No, your buyer persona is not Microsoft. Your buyer persona is the person, the human being that is making, or the human beings who are making the purchase decision. And that is the first step. Understand who in the government, who in education are the ones who are benefiting from your product, not as industry. It's not the government that is getting benefits. It is the person who are using it, right? So I'll give you an example with our buyer personas. We call them Growth Gabby. We're targeting one profile that would fit is a marketing director. So, and that marketing director has a name and has challenges and wants to get promoted and doesn't want to get fired. And that's where you want to start. Who is that buyer persona? When you have that, now you can start prospecting. Now you can start building content for that persona. And then you can start building that pipeline and converting. Yes, I can share my LinkedIn profile. Just give me 1 second. I'll pull it out in the meantime. Eleanor is asking, can you give us a few suggestions on how to start using HubSpot automations? It's overwhelming, and I also don't trust that I will always hit the mark when reaching out to people through the campaign steps. Eleanor, in my experience, email marketing is one of the highest converting strategies that you can use when you share via email or newsletters or those contents. So you can build automated campaigns in HubSpot. You can build workflows. I mean, we have so many automations that I could go for 60 minutes or 2 hours or 3 hours showing you the different tools and functionalities. But I'll give you a few examples that are very practical. For example, if you build a pipeline in HubSpot, like a sales pipeline, and one deal goes from one stage to another, you can build automations from it. Like if, I move the deal from explore call to demo, then you can uh, do some automations that will reach out to this person with a follow-up, or maybe they will set up a task for one of your colleagues to build the demo or to adjust the presentation. Like it's just simplifying so many processes. The sequences that I showed are also an automation, like click, include this person in the sequence, and it's going to send as many emails as you built in the sequence. Also create tasks for yourself to call, to reach out via LinkedIn. Those are other examples of great automations. And, the sky is the limit. If they click, for example, we have an automation at HubSpot that if somebody views the pricing page, it's going to add to the lead score, and it's also going to send an email to it's going to assign it to the lead to a salesperson. That is automatic. and then it is going to send an email to the salesperson and an email to who was viewing the pricing page to remind them of an offer or whatever, right? So anything that seems like that is you can build it. I would say, of course, it's not like you jump into HubSpot and you're an expert, um, but I would say that it's going to be simple if you play with the tool by a bit. You're going to start learning very quickly on how to build those automations. And on the overwhelming side of things, I also want to say that start with a goal. What do you want to achieve? Don't think about, I want to use automations. Okay, what do I do? Think about, I want to reach out to the folks who subscribe to my newsletter automatically, sending in an automated email. Okay, you want to achieve that? Okay, how do I do it? Right? So go from your goal to the tool, not the other way around. Do I have links to the startup programs? Yes, yes, I do. I'll share it with you in a couple of minutes. I very much encourage you to sign up today to the program because we're going to be offering you the content. You will be able also to open a free account in HubSpot and maybe start using the free tools as a CRM. Just one second, I'm going to share the link so you can sign up to the program right here. I shared my LinkedIn as well. I love to follow up. You know, a lot of people after the workshops reach out to me. Feel free to do that. I'm super active on LinkedIn. Um, we have discounts. Liza, if you are part of York, you get the best pricing available. We do have a program for nonprofits, but I would recommend you to use this link because it's cheaper. Thank you, Tracy. Other than a CTA, what can specifically help convert from a website other than content? I understand this is very broad, just looking for additional insight. Um, I mean, the CTAs are fantastic. Another tool that can help you convert leads is the chatbots. So let me see if I can find an example to show you how this works. Uh, let's use the HubSpot example. So the chatbots are a way to incorporate lead capturing strategies into your website. So let's say that I use this. I could use this chatbot to prospect with the person. Let me show you another one because if I click here, somebody from HubSpot is going to reach out and be very disappointed that I'm in HubSpot. So just give me one second. I'll give you the example of the one for HubSpot startups. So this chatbot, if I am a lead in the HubSpot for startups in HubSpot CRM, and I start interacting with this, it might ask me questions like, okay, you want to apply to the program? Are you a VC? Are you an incubator? Are you whatever? And once you start interacting with that, this bot is going to start feeding your CRM with the information that this person is sharing with them. So this chat could be asking me, okay, do you want to chat with the team? It's going to probably give me, ask me for an email or something like that so I can follow up. You can also integrate these automations to, sorry, you connected me to a rep, which I don't want it to. It can also connect to different automations that you can use. So this is another strategy that you can use to convert. You mentioned CTAs. We recommend CTAs everywhere. If you look at, I mean, if you go to the HubSpot blog, you're going to see the best practices, and you see CTAs everywhere. You want to start free? Okay, click here. If you go to a blog post, the blog post is always going to have a CTA. Download this free checklist, and this is going to bring me to a form, right? You have many CTAs. Get free templates. start free or get a demo, right? You see CPAs everywhere. Why? Because this is the goal of the content, to make people convert, make people subscribe to the newsletter, to um, share more information on who they are, right? What their goals are, what their challenges are, so we can anticipate again this sales call. Okay, I hope I answered the question. Anything you use in AI potentially made public, does that mean your prompts and outputs for creating sales would be available to others? Not to others, but to the owners of the, like, if I put a prompt into GPT, it won't be accessible by anyone else except GPT, right? OpenAI is going to be able to use that information, and again, is it's I think that it's not very different from, when you sign like one of these agreements to download an app, they're going to capture some information from you and use that information, right? It's pretty much the same, but I think the risk with language models is that this is going to be it's going to be intimate, right? These conversations with the GPTs can be very intimate. You're basically talking to them, right? So that is information that becomes data, and I mean, I I would see it as if it was public, right? As if it was a public conversation. If you click like on Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg knows that you did that, right? But it's not a very intimate action. GPTs are conversational, so they can get a lot more intimate, and privacy can be much riskier. So yeah, I mean, don't be extra careful, but always be mindful that your actions can be seen by somebody else. And it's also they are also being used to train the models. Sharda, are automated campaign emails personalized, addressing customers by name or just a generic broadcast email? You can automate any property that you want. So if I were to send an email to you, it would say, "Hi, Sharda. I see that you have these challenges at," and I would use your company name, like Sharda Patin Incorporation. You can personalize any property that you have in your CRM. You can automatically personalize it in a massive campaign. So you select the list, you build an email, you insert personalization tokens, which can be the first name, the company name. Sometimes maybe you want to personalize something else. I don't know, the climate, the city where they live in, right? Like, hey, folks who live in Boston or folks who live in Toronto. Um, those tokens you can include in any campaign, and your emails will feel much more personalized. The next step is that AI is going to personalize it for you. Like it's going to be a little more intimate and personalized in scale, right? Natasha, AI is the new computer, and I'm the bot. Yes. Are you a bot, Natasha? If you watch Blade Runner, then you you can ask this question yourself. Is it possible to take customer email captures entered from the company website and automatically add it into a host CRM? Yes, that is absolutely the whole purpose of having the CPAs, the subscribe to the newsletter, is basically sharing that you have email addresses. Of course, always be very careful. You need to make sure that you can reach out to them. There's a lot of privacy things going on. Our platform can help you with also with those compliances that you need. But yes, you can take customer email captures from the company. They will automatically add to a CRM. And even if you send an email and you have the HubSpot integration, which is free, let me show you a little bit how this looks like. That email is going directly into your CRM. So if you're using Gmail, and this is my example, let me show you how this looks like. you can see that I have I integrated my Gmail to HubSpot. I'm using Chrome as well, and I have the sales tool right here. I can see everything that is happening with my content, who is clicking, who is opening, who is ignoring stories, for example, um, what's going on in every interaction that I'm doing. But also, if I compose an email and there's a new email, let's say Alina, let's not say Alina, but let's say York. Yeah, and I click here, then what's gonna happen? It's gonna have like this tool, and I can add it to HubSpot automatically, and then the email will also be reported in the contact name, right? It also gives me an idea of what the company is, and if there are some enrichment opportunities there, it's gonna also show them to you, right? So yes, and this is
So
gonna help you feed your CRM a lot.
you manually need to click on that to add it, or does it automatic? Can you automatically, like when they fill out the form on the website, it automatically goes in?
So if you send a logged email, it will be automatically added to the CRM, and
Okay.
the record will have this information as well, like the
Okay.
emails that you sent, the replies that you got, if you had a meeting with the contact, everything is going to be recorded there, so you can follow up after a call or whatever.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Not at all. Let me get back to the questions. And by the way, thank you for the questions. They're fantastic, and it's always great to have questions. Let me see where we were. Okay, that was Sharda. My LinkedIn. Thank you for the hearts. Can I use this link if I already have a HubSpot account? Yes, use it. If your account is free, you will be eligible for the startup pricing. If you're a customer, it won't apply discounts to the products you have, but it will apply discounts to new products that you purchase. Natasha is asking, what's the safest browser for more cybersecurity? I need cybersecurity classes just to move my business along. Honestly, Natasha, I don't know. We use Chrome at HubSpot, and HubSpot is very, very into cybersecurity. I don't know if it's the best solution, but I can just tell you what we use. But yeah, we use Chrome. I bet there might be safer, and of course, we have a contract for it. All right, those were the questions. Any more questions?
Any other questions, guys?
Yes, Rafa, great presentation, by the way. Is it possible if we'll reach out to you again for a 5 minutes chat? Not more, promise.
Yeah, sure. Reach out to me. You can reach out to me via Alina or LinkedIn, and we can set up a 5-minute chat. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for offering that. All right. Are there any other questions?
By the way, great CTA, Brandon. The expectation of time, fantastic. So yeah, that's great. Good practices there for setting up the chat.
Lisa, go ahead.
I just have a quick question. Like, I run a not-for-profit, so CTA is usually like donate money or volunteer or something like that. So I'm not like actually selling a product or service that is to the target audience, so to speak. So I'm just wondering, what is your advice on that, on the marketing piece, on the follow-up piece, and things like that?
For the CTAs?
Yeah, because like one thing we struggle with positioning is because our payer, so our potential donors or whatever, is different from our beneficiaries, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, on the process and the marketing part on the
So it's very
selling, so
important.
to speak.
Yeah, yeah. It really depends on the stage of the sales process. So for example, if you have content for the um, let me get back to let me get back to one of my slides. Um, so let's say that you have content for the awareness stage, right? You're building content um, for to help your customers, potential customers, identify the problem that is creating symptoms. They're not ready to buy, right? At this stage, they don't even know what they have, what problem they have. So you're probably going to have content that is focused very general, right? Like, I don't know, in households, we will have something like sales strategies or how to generate more traffic to your website, something like that. That is very general and very early on the customer stage. The CTAs here need to be very light. The CTAs here, your goal at this stage is just to capture their email. You don't want a lot of information. Just one email, name. That's it. So the call to action should be maybe subscribe to a newsletter, subscribe to the blog. Maybe you want to share a piece of content like a template or infographic, and then you put it behind a form, and the CTA there is download this, right? If you're in the consideration stage, this customer is already trying to find strategies to solve that problem. The CTA at this point, you might want to bring it a little further down um, the sales process. So maybe here you already have an email and you want to capture more information to see if they're a potential customer. So the CTA here could also be like download this content, but you have a bigger form. You also need to have more content, more value to offer so they fill the form. Uh, we had an amazing CTA with one of HubSpot's tools, which was the email signature creator. Basically, they needed folks need to put like their role, their company, and this was a fantastic way to capture their information, right? So in the consideration stage, your goal is to understand if this person is the right customer for you. If you want to spend more resources trying to sell to this person, so you want to capture more information. So here you're going to see a lot of CTAs that would be download this content or something that you can exchange for information. And maybe you can also have a CTA to book a meeting, but that won't be an exploratory call. This would be like a free consultation call, right? Book 5 minutes with me or 15 minutes with me, who I'm an expert in X, Y, and Z. And if you need advice on this, maybe we can talk about this. For the decision stage, your CTAs are going to be very focused on product and sales. So here you're going to have CTAs that would be, in the case of software companies, request a demo, start a free trial. That's also a CTA that you're going to have at this stage. They're going to be very, very much related to the product, or to speak to a sales rep, talk to sales. That's another CTA that you're going to have here, right? So it really depends on which stage your content is targeting. You're going to have different CTAs because you have, as Liza, different objectives, and they need to be connected to those objectives. And then the automations follow up, uh, will follow up as they make sense. So if they subscribe to the blog, you want to automatically add them to the newsletter and send them their monthly newsletter or biweekly newsletter automatically, right? That's the automation that is going to happen if they subscribe to your newsletter. At the consideration stage, if they book a meeting, a consultation, well, you want to automate that, right? You want to send an automated email to the person that is going to do the consultation, maybe you. You want to add automation so they can book the meeting, maybe on a calendar link or something like that. And potentially you want to set up an automation to follow up to confirm that they're coming to the meeting or they can reschedule. In the decision stage, the automations will be if somebody clicks in talk to sales, maybe you want to change some properties and target this, like flag this person like this is a hot lead. This is a person who has intention to buy. So maybe you have a property or a prospect score or whatever that you are going to automatically update. You might also want to assign this person to a sales owner, and then you want to create automation to notify the sales owner so he gets an email like, hey, this person clicked on talk to sales. Here's the profile of this person that we have on HubSpot, right? And then you also want to automate an email to confirm that they want to meet with you or maybe asking more information or just saying, thank you so much for booking the meeting. Somebody's going to be reaching out to you, right? So you really choose how you want to serve your customers, how they want to be served. And based on that, you're going to build the automations that make sense at each stage. I think we have more questions. Consider sales are very overwhelming. You have to pay close attention to the details. You have to have a lot of empathy. Empathy is the most important thing. Understand, ask questions, use that as a strategy. And also, they can be overwhelming, but the way that you solve that and that you lose that fear of sales is having a very clear process, like using these methodologies, like the GPCT. If you put that in the agenda and you follow each and one of the steps, then you're going to be less afraid and less overwhelmed because you know exactly your goal for each call and you know exactly how to achieve that goal, right? So it's less overwhelming. It's less overwhelming if you follow process. If you don't follow a process, it's going to be super overwhelming because you're going to be all over the place, right? So I really, really recommend mapping your sales process and building a pipeline, which is also a free tool at HubSpot. So yeah, it's free. So the best tools to start developing the sales process. I want to say this, HubSpot is a fantastic tool and the sales pipeline tool is free. So, you can sign up with the link. This is going to open a free account for you. And I would say the first step is import your contact database and then go to the pipeline tool and build your sales process. Yeah, I very, very, I know you may think that I'm biased, but I really think that it's a great tool and it's free.
Yeah, and Rafael, I would just add to that. I think many people don't understand the importance of having a CRM. So whether it's HubSpot or not, I think just having a CRM is very, very important when you're building out like a sales plan. And it's always good to, you know, try out free tools, and luckily, HubSpot offers that and offers much more beyond that. So, like Rafael was also talking about the Startup Academy that they offer. So it's not just a tool, it's also resources to help you bring you, to that level where you can take on and use, make the most of the CRMs to build into your sales funnel. So just wanted to add that note.
Definitely, definitely. I'm going to show you what the sales process looks like, how it looks in HubSpot. So this is an example when you're that a use case that we are seeing more and more with the founders is that they're going to be managing their fundraising process as a sales process, right? So this is what the process looks like. You can see that you have the different stages, and it helps you really organize any process that looks like a sales process, including a process. And of course, advance the deals, create automations, follow up, et cetera, know how much money you have on each stage. This is very important. This is very important. So you follow up. It's very important to understand your sales process. So highly recommend to have a CRM um, to follow up with the deals
Sorry,
and
Rafael,
with
are
the
you
process.
showing something or are you just talking to it?
I was showing,
We're
but
we're seeing
it didn't
your
show.
presentation on awareness stage, consideration stage. We're not seeing the.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry. So yeah, uh, thank you, Alina. Now you're seeing. So this is
Yeah.
like the what a sales process looks like. Again, this is a fundraising process. Let me see if I have one for customers. Uh, First meeting schedule, follow-up meeting, presentation schedule, key person bought in, I send the contract, I lost the deal or lost the deal. This is an example of a map sales process, and it helps you just understand where your money is, right? What's going to happen, how much opportunities you have, and also to follow up. Because if I look here, agent AI, when was the last activity? I don't have activities for this. So what is happening with this deal? It's going to help you with following up a lot. We have another question. How long can a sales closing meeting be in the decision stage? 45, 60 minutes? Uh, Really depends on how complex your product is. Usually, if you're early stage in the purchase process, maybe you want to be a little, you want to be more concise. Maybe a 30-minute explore call. If you schedule like a demo or something, I think sometimes it can take an hour, sometimes 30 minutes, depending on the challenges and goals that this person has and the tools uh, uh, that are going to help. So I'll give you an example. If I did an explore call, which is a call in which I'm going to do the GPCP with a customer, and I know that he has only one challenge, maybe my demo is going to last for 15 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to address that specific challenge. If I show them something else, he might get bored, overwhelmed, whatever. So it really depends on what their challenges are and how your product, how you're going to show that your product solves those challenges. So it can go from 15 minutes to half an hour to 60 minutes. And maybe you have follow-up calls and you have to do all over again, and they bring the CFO, and then you need to do a little GPCT for the CEO, for example, for the CFO, right? Because the marketer needs leads, the CFO needs to save money, so you're going to show maybe how you generate revenue. So instead of showing them how the tool generates leads, right? So yeah, it really depends. Thank you, Jane Manriquez. Thank you, Rosclair. Richmond, yes, we have a lot of tutorials. I'm going to share this with you. This is the Academy. Here you're going to find a lot of content on HubSpot, but also SEO, sales, building an effective automation strategy in HubSpot, social media marketing. It's very general. So if you have a specific goal with in go-to-market, the Academy is fantastic, and also the knowledge base is going to help you with the product. Thank you, Richard. Hope they help.
Perfect. I feel like we're all caught up with questions in the chat. Just asking the room here, any last questions for Rafael?